morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You are watching World DNA with me, Raisha Sehgal.
And I'm Hemkor Surya, and on the show today, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation, saying he would leave office as soon as his party chooses a new leader. He will also be stepping down as the leader of the Liberal Party. We will be getting you the latest on this from Canada on the show today.
Meanwhile, in West Asia, Yemen's Houthi militant group has claimed to have attacked US and Israeli targets. The Iran-backed group targeted the American aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman in the Red Sea, allegedly foiling US attempts to attack Yemen. We'll get you the latest from that as well. Lots more lined up on the show, but first a quick check on the headlines.
At least 15 labourers feared trapped inside a flooded coal mine in India's Assam state. Indian Army mobilizes relief task force for rescue operations.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announces his resignation to leave office as soon as his Liberal Party chooses a new leader.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted.
U.S. Congress certifies Donald Trump's presidential election victory. Vice President Kamala Harris presides over the joint session of Senate and House of Representatives to validate the result.
U.S. judge holds former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani in contempt of court for failing to reveal information about assets in defamation case.
More than 60 million Americans are under weather alerts from the Ohio Valley to the mid-Atlantic, with a forecast of more snow, ice and rain and possibility of the heaviest snowfall in a decade.
Orthodox Christmas Eve celebrations held across the world. Head of the Russian Orthodox Church presides over Mass at the Cathedral of Christ the Savior in Moscow.
More than 160 British politicians have urged England and Wales Cricket Board to boycott their next month's Champions Trophy match against Afghanistan. This in response to Taliban regime's assault on women's rights. Our top story on World DNA this morning, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation, saying he would leave office as soon as his party chooses a new leader.
Addressing a press conference on Monday, Trudeau said that he will be stepping down as the leader of the Liberal Party and the Prime Minister as the party begins the process to choose his successor ahead of the elections.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process.
The outgoing Prime Minister also said that work of the Parliament will be suspended till the 24th of March, citing months of political paralysis. Trudeau said that he has advised the Governor-General to take the necessary steps to suspend Parliament for the next 3 months.
The move follows plummeting popularity nationwide. Trudeau is facing intense pressure amid record inflation, a housing crisis, rising food prices and voter fatigue.
Recent polls show the Liberal Party at a record low popularity, its worst pre-election performance in over a century. The latest poll shows declining preference for Trudeau as Prime Minister, with opposition Conservative leader becoming increasingly popular.
For months, more and more Liberal Party members have raised questions over a growing leadership crisis. In October, 24 backbench Liberal MPs signed a letter urging him to step down. 2 weeks ago, over 50 Liberal parliamentarians asked Trudeau to step down. The situation then worsened further with the shock resignation of Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland.
The big question now is who will succeed Trudeau as the ruling party's leader ahead of the critical elections. The elections are supposed to be held before October this year.
And for more on this, we are now being joined by Claypool from Canada. He's a journalist and a host of the National Telegraph.
Hey.
First up, during his speech, Trudeau said that he cannot fight internal battles. Do you think that this is a case of perhaps Justin Trudeau jumping before he's being pushed? And what happens next in Canada after Trudeau's resignation?
Oh, he was definitely being pushed. I think that Justin Trudeau just wants a heroic hero narrative for himself on the way out that, I was ready to fight the election. It was just all the people behind me that were stabbing me in the back. That's what Justin Trudeau is trying to go for here. And I think it's really played into the Liberal Party's interests to have this prorogation here and the Liberal leadership this late in the game. They should have probably done this last year. But if they get to do it now, they get to drag out their time in office because it doesn't matter who they pick as the new leader. They're going to lose this next election. And that's not just because of Trudeau's legacy and how badly the Liberal government has performed. It's because all of the leadership candidates are pretty much just miniature Justin Trudeaus.
All right. Now, also, of course, we're going to be discussing what's happening in Canada, but I think it's pertinent to mention that Trump has reacted to the resignation and said that Canada should merge with the United States. Yet again, we know that he's in the past referred to the Canadian Prime Minister as governor as well. This comes just 10 days ahead of the inauguration and the 25% tariff threat. How is Canada going to navigate that?
Well, to be clear, too, I think that Donald Trump is absolutely joking about having Canada join the U.S. as the 51st state. He's doing this because Justin Trudeau, since Trump left office in 2021, has been nothing but awful to Trump, constantly using his name as a pejorative against his political opponents in Canada, constantly referring to Trump and his movement as far right. So I think that now that Trump has the upper hand on Trudeau, he's been using it to mock him relentlessly. And I think that right now Canada's in a very bad position going forward into trade renegotiations with the U.S. because we effectively have no prime minister. Yes, Trudeau is staying on until March, but why is Trump going to negotiate with him in good faith when he knows this guy basically has no power? We can't even have an interim leader because that person would only be around for 2 months without any authority as well. And then the person to take over after Trudeau as the new Liberal Prime Minister is only going to be around for potentially a couple of weeks before the next federal election. And so really, I think that the best thing Canadians can hope for is that the election comes as soon as possible and Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives can negotiate with Trump from a place of actual strength.
Right, Mr. Claypool, like you mentioned, the Canadians are hoping for fast elections with Trudeau's resignation, which brings me to my question that who perhaps could lead Trudeau and what, according to you, is the future of the Liberal Party at this point of time? Because opinion polls suggest that that Liberal Party is not doing so well when compared to the Conservatives.
Oh, yeah, a new poll just came out, I think, an hour ago. Conservatives were at 47%. The Liberals are at 21%. The liberals, and this is what I mean when I say I don't think it matters who they pick as the leader. An audience in India probably knows these people as well as Canadians do because nobody knows who any of these people are. Like they've been in government for sometimes over a decade, but when I name people other than Chrystia Freeland, people like Dominic LeBlanc and Francois Philippe Champagne and Anita Anand are as foreign names to Canadians as they are to an Indian audience because all these people are basically just like miniature versions of Trudeau. In all of their roles in government, they've only done exactly what Trudeau has said to do. And so how do any of these people run for leadership? They don't have any leadership qualities, and their entire resumes are made up of carrying water for Trudeau. The only person who looks more pathetic in this entire situation than the Liberals do are Jagmeet Singh and the NDP, because despite the fact that the Liberals are bleeding out support, even the NDP can't pick up any of it because of how subservient Jagmeet has been to Trudeau, despite the fact that he's a different party's leader.
Right, Mr. Claypool, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA with your insights on the story.
Thank you.
Moving on, the U.S. Congress has certified U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's election victory in a joint session of Senate and House of Representatives.
Now, this clears the way for him to be sworn in on the 20th of January. The ceremony was designated for the first time as a national security special event, with 500 National Guard personnel on standby.
It unfolded in an orderly manner in stark contrast to this day 4 years ago. One by one, a tally of the electoral votes from each state was read aloud to polite applause in the House. No one objected, and the results were certified. Kamala Harris, who Trump defeated in the 2024 election, oversaw the certification as a part of her vice presidential duties.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
On Truth Social, Trump celebrated Congress's certification of his victory, calling it a great moment in history. He concluded his post with the promise to make America great again.
The ceremony marked the final blow to efforts to have the Republican leader face justice over the Capitol Hill riot, the culmination of an alleged criminal conspiracy that prosecutors said Trump led before they dropped all charges upon his election. Trump has vowed to pardon an unspecified number of the rioters, around 900 of whom have admitted federal charges from trespassing and vandalism to even assaulting the police, describing them as hostages.
For more on this, a correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
President-elect Donald Trump aims to swiftly implement his agenda in the 119th Congress, focusing on broader security, tax cuts, as well as energy policies. He prefers a comprehensive bill to address all of these priorities. However, Republicans face challenges with their narrow majorities in both chambers, and near unanimous support to pass legislation is a necessity. Internal divisions also exist whether or not to pursue a single comprehensive bill like what Donald Trump wants or multiple targeted bills. And while opportunities to advance Republican agenda is there, achieving consensus requires navigating not only internal disagreements but bipartisan support with the Democrats as well. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, Yemen's Houthi militant group is claimed to have attacked U.S. and Israeli targets.
Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari said that the Iran-backed group targeted the American aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman in the Red Sea, following the U.S. plan to attack Yemen.
The missile and UAVs force of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a specific and joint military operation targeting the American aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman using 2 winged missiles and 4 drones north of the Red Sea. While the American enemy was preparing to launch a major air attack against our country, and the operation led to the failure of the attack.
Now, he also said the Houthis attacked military facilities in the Israeli cities of Jaffa and Ashkelon.
The UAV's force carried out two military operations this afternoon, the first of which targeted a military target linked to the Israeli enemy in the occupied area of Jaffa with two drones. The other operation targeted a vital target linked to the Israeli enemy in occupied Ashkelon with a drone.
Meanwhile, Israeli military chief visited the scene of a deadly shooting attack on a bus carrying Israelis in the occupied West Bank and vowed to find the perpetrators.
The attack occurred in the Palestinian village of Al-Funduq on one of the main east-west roads crossing the territory. Israel's military and emergency services said gunmen opened fire on a bus and other vehicles, killing 3 Israelis and wounding 8 others. Lieutenant General Herze Halevi said that the clock is ticking back for the terrorists who carried out the attack.
We are in an intensified and extensive fight against terrorism in West Bank. We will intensify and continue this fight. For the terrorists who carried out this attack, the countdown is about to begin. We will find out who carried out this attack and we will reach them.
Furthermore, Israel said that Hamas is yet to clarify whether 34 hostages it said it was ready to free were dead or alive, throwing doubt on the group's assertion that it needed time to ascertain their fate.
The offer from Hamas came as Israel continued to pound the Gaza Strip, where rescuers said 16 people were killed on Monday. Mediators from Qatar, Egypt and the United States have been working for months to strike a deal to end the fighting in Gaza. But both sides have accused the other of derailing the negotiations.
In yet other news, U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein voiced optimism regarding the implementation of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah. He said that the Israeli military started its withdrawal from South Lebanon border town of Naqoura, and the withdrawals will continue until all Israeli forces are out of Lebanon completely, as the Lebanese army continues to deploy into the south and all the way to the Blue Line.
So this is going according to the plan, maybe not according to exact expectations of everybody in Lebanon or Israel, but we have 20 days left to reach the 60 days. We are going to continue the same work that led to the successful deployment and withdrawal, or withdrawal and deployment.
Meanwhile, Israeli military vehicles were seen inside the buffer zone between the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and Syria. Israeli forces have been operating in the UN-patrolled area since the topple of the former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime almost a month ago.
Israel has described the move as a limited and temporary measure to ensure the security of Israel's borders, but have given no indication of when the troops might be withdrawn. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un has confirmed the test launch of a hypersonic missile system.
Now, Kim claimed that the missile will contain any rivals in the Pacific region that can affect the security of North Korea. The North Korean leader has claimed that the missile covered a distance of 1,500 kilometers beyond the 1,100-kilometer figure given by South Korea's military.
The missile attained a height of 99.8 kilometers and traveled 12 times the speed of sound before landing in water. Meanwhile, Japan claimed that the missile had landed outside its special economic zone. The launch was Pyongyang's first missile launch this year. Last year in November, North Korea test-fired its most advanced solid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missile.
The test fire came at a time when the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on a South Korea visit. The U.S. Secretary of State and his South Korean counterpart Cho Tae-yul condemned the launch at a joint press conference and emphasized the importance of a three-way alliance with Japan.
Now, this is a two-way street. The DPRK is already receiving Russian military equipment and training. Now, we have reason to believe that Moscow intends to share advanced space and satellite technology with Pyongyang, and that Putin may be close to reversing a decades-long policy by Russia and accepting DPRK's nuclear weapons program.
Now the row between Elon Musk and Europe's top leaders is escalating.
French President Emmanuel Macron is the latest leader to join a growing chorus of European criticism of Musk, accusing the world's richest man of intervening directly in the continent's democratic processes.
Macron said the SpaceX and Tesla boss was directly intervening in elections, including in Germany, where Chancellor Olaf Scholz has condemned Musk for backing an extreme right party.
In a speech to French ambassadors, Macron said that the owner of one of the world's largest social networks was supporting a new international reactionary movement and intervening directly in the elections.
Que nous défendons le droit international et l'Arménie.
10 years ago, who could have imagined it if we had been told that the owner of one of the largest social media networks in the world would support a new international reactionary movement and intervene directly in elections, including in Germany? Who would have imagined it? This is the world in which we live and in which we have to be diplomatic.
Meanwhile, Norwegian Prime Minister said that he found it worrying that someone with so much wealth and influence was getting involved in the politics of European countries.
While both the French president and the Norwegian prime minister refrained from mentioning the billionaire by name, there was no doubt who they were talking about. Musk, who owns the social media platform X, is a close ally of Donald Trump and has been asked by the incoming US president to cut the federal budget as a special advisor.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Saturday condemned Musk for his erratic comments after the billionaire labelled the German leader an incompetent fool and came out in support of the alternative for Germany. Schulz has warned voters not to let the owners of social media channels decide the snap elections in February.
The crucial point is that Mr. Musk has supported some right-wing extremist parties and, as you can see, is not only acting this way in this country, and that is something we not only disagree with, I reject it.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has also slammed those spreading lies and misinformation.
Starmer's comments follow days of posts by Musk on his X platform over historical sex offences against children in northern England. Musk has accused Starmer of being deeply complicit in the mass rapes.
Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves.
In other news, heavy rainfall has hit Saudi Arabia, impacting the holy city of Mecca.
Torrential rain has led to inundation of roads and flash floods. These are the images from the Al Awali neighborhood southeast of Mecca.
People can be seen driving cars through flooded streets after heavy rainfall.
Saudi Arabian authorities have shut schools in several parts of the country. The incessant rain has led to flight cancellations at the Jeddah airport, throwing lives out of the gear in the Gulf country. Rainstorms and flooding are not unheard of in Saudi Arabia, especially in the winter. More densely populated cities are struggling with poor drainage amid flooding.
According to Saudi press agency, the teams of doctors, specialists and emergency medical technicians in the Mecca region are on standby. Officials have urged locals to follow official instructions, exercise caution and prioritize road safety during heavy rainfall.
All right, with that, it's time to slip into a short break, but let's take a look at all the climate stories which are making headlines across the globe. Stay tuned. dive into your daily dose of news.
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's get started with the headlines first.
At least 15 laborers fear trapped inside a flooded coal mine in India's Assam state. Indian Army mobilizes relief task force for rescue operations.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announces his resignation to leave office as soon as his Liberal Party chooses a new leader.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted.
U.S. Congress certifies Donald Trump's presidential election victory. Vice President Kamala Harris presides over joint session of Senate and House of Representatives to validate the result.
At least 5 people have died in the United States storm-related incidents as Storm Blair leads to mass school closures, travel chaos and power cuts.
More than 160 British politicians have urged England and Wales cricket board to boycott their next month's Champions Trophy match against Afghanistan. This is in response to Taliban regime's assault on women's rights. Indian Army has begun operations to rescue several miners trapped inside a flooded coal mine.
Now, the mine is located in a remote area in the northeastern state of Assam. Although the exact number of persons trapped was not officially disclosed, sources said that at least 15 workers are inside the mine in the hilly Dimahasau district.
Well, there's no clarity on how much water seeped into the mine. Sources said a few workers who managed to come out of the mine informed the mine owner and the local police about the mishap. The mine site is accessible only through a jungle. The spot is about 30 kilometers from the nearest police station at Umrang Sao and takes about 7 hours to reach from district headquarters Haflong.
The government has released a list of 9 workers trapped inside. Most of the miners are from Assam, with 1 each from West Bengal and Nepal. State Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma sought the Army's assistance in the ongoing rescue operation. Indian Army has mobilized a relief task force for rescuing the miners. The relief task force comprises of specialist light drivers, sappers and other relevant personnel with the necessary equipment. Senior officials of the Indian Army will also be reaching the site to coordinate with the civil administration. The State Disaster Response Force and the National Disaster Response Force are also at the incident site.
Officials of the Assam Mines and Minerals Department that handles mining matters have been tasked with assessing the situation. They're also finding out details about the mine's owner. Well, there has been several mining disasters across the northeast. Miners employ the hazardous rat hole technique and engage in the excavation of narrow pits in the ground, large enough for only one person to go down and extract coal.
Now, ahead of assembly elections in India's capital, an opposition leader's comments against Delhi Chief Minister Atishi have sparked controversy and outrage.
Ramesh Bhiduri, a senior BJP leader contesting Delhi's elections from the Kalkaji constituency, made personal remarks about Atishi. The former member of parliament raised questions on the character of the Aam Aadmi Party leaders and during his remarks insulted Atishi by saying that she has changed fathers.
Now, the Delhi Chief Minister broke down at a press conference while reacting to Bhiduri's comments. Take a look.
वो इतने बीमार रहते हैं कि बिना सहारे के चल नहीं पाते हैं। आप चुनाव के लिए इतनी घटिया हरकत करेंगे? कैसे बुजुर्ग व्यक्ति को गालियां देने पे उतर आएंगे? इस देश की राजनीति इतने घटिया स्तर पर गिर सकती है, मैं कभी सोच नहीं सकती थी।
This is not the first time that Biduri has triggered backlash over his comments on political rivals. An undated video of the senior BJP leader also went viral, where he can be heard making remarks about Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi, saying that the party will make roads like Priyanka Gandhi's cheeks.
Following a tirade of personal remarks against women leaders across party lines, members of the Youth Congress were seen chanting slogans outside Biduri's residence in Delhi and wrote a slogan calling Biduri anti-women.
Last year, the BJP leader stirred controversy during a special session of Parliament in September, where he made several remarks against BSP leader Danish Ali, calling him names and making objectionable comments against the lawmaker. The incident landed Biduri in trouble.
He apologized to the Privileges Committee in December, almost 3 months after the incident triggered an uproar across parties. And amid rising tensions in the South China Sea, the Philippines has deployed air and sea assets to monitor China's largest coastal guard vessel in the exclusive economic zone.
The Philippine government has called the ship's presence an act of Chinese intimidation and aggression. The vessel, identified as the 165-meter long ship 5901, was spotted near the coast of Zambales on Sunday.
The Philippines Coast Guard ordered the Chinese ship to leave the area, stating that it had no authority to operate there. China maintains that the vessel was conducting law enforcement duties within its jurisdiction. Manila has warned that any provocative action from the Chinese vessel would be met with an appropriate response. Beijing has not yet responded to Manila's warning.
Well, tensions between the Philippines and China have escalated in recent years, particularly under the leadership of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who has taken a stand against what Manila sees as Beijing's aggressive moves in the region.
The territorial row between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea has turned increasingly violent, with the two sides trading allegations of intentional boat rammings, in Manila accusing Chinese Coast Guard personnel of using water cannon against its boats and engaging in fist fights with spears and knives.
Well, in August alone, the two countries reported 6 confrontations in the air and at sea in the contested waterway. Rising costs, stubborn inflation and soaring taxes, India's middle class is feeling the pinch like never before.
As Budget 2025 looms, the nation's backbone demands an overhaul to ease their financial burdens. Here's our comprehensive report on their wish list.
With the countdown to Budget 2025 underway, all eyes are on potential tax reforms that could ease the financial strain on India's middle class. Often hailed as the backbone of the economy, this segment has borne the brunt of rising costs and limited income growth, all while shouldering increasing tax burdens. Despite steady inflation eroding disposable incomes, taxes have remained stubbornly high. Essential expenses like healthcare, education, and housing have skyrocketed, leaving families with little room to save or invest. The salaried class now awaits an overhaul in tax structures, one that simplifies the system and brings meaningful relief. Proposals for increased exemptions, higher standard deductions, and streamlined processes are topping their wish list. Affordable housing is another crucial concern. The dream of owning a home feels increasingly out of reach due to escalating property prices and hefty loan interest rates. The middle class hopes for targeted measures such as subsidies for first-time buyers or reduction in stamp duty to make this aspiration attainable. Inflation, meanwhile, continues to chip away at household budgets. Stabilizing fuel and utility prices alongside subsidies on essential commodities could significantly ease monthly financial pressures. Additionally, long-term stability hinges on policies promoting job creation, skill development, and upskilling to meet the demands of a rapidly evolving economy. Retirement planning and healthcare provisions are also high on the agenda. The middle class seeks reforms that cater to contemporary work-life dynamics, such as tax deductions for remote work expenses or allowances for ongoing education. As anticipation builds, the big question remains: will Budget 2025 deliver the much-needed respite for the middle class? All will be revealed on February 1st. But one thing is clear: the middle class deserves its moment in the spotlight. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
And in 2025, more members of Generation Beta are making their presence felt, and they're expected to rewrite the business playbook.
Born into a world of AI, climate challenges and post-pandemic realities, these future leaders demand smarter tech, greener economies and businesses that adapt or perish. Well, are we ready for a generation that's not just living in the future, but perhaps shaping it? Our next report telling you more.
As 2025 dawns, the world prepares to greet Generation Beta, or children born between 2025 and 2039. Set to inherit a planet transformed by rapid innovation and persistent challenges, this generation stands poised to rewrite the rules of business, economics, and sustainability. For Gen Beta, AI and smart devices won't just be tools. They will be second nature. Businesses must adapt to a generation that expects seamless integration of technology into every aspect of life, from education to entertainment. The industry that thrive will be those that innovate at the speed of thought. Social media will evolve into something far beyond selfies and reels. For Gen Beta, it will likely become a hub for collaborative problem-solving, virtual economics, and education. Brands need to rethink engagement strategies to capture the attention of this hyper-digital cohort. The climate change, urbanization, and resource scarcity are more than headlines. They are the realities shaping Gen Beta's values. Green energy, circular economies, and eco-friendly innovations will dominate the marketplace. For businesses, sustainability won't be a bonus, it will be a baseline. Born in a post-pandemic world, Gen Beta will witness massive global shifts in workforce dynamics and trade. Remote work, decentralized currencies, and emerging markets will create both challenges and opportunities for entrepreneurs and policymakers alike. With many from this generation expected to live well into the 22nd century, their economic strategies will favor longevity. For businesses, this means catering to consumer base with a focus on resilience, adaptability, and purpose-driven spending. Generation Beta is not just the next line. They are the architects of a bold new world. Will businesses rise to meet their needs or be left behind? Business Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Let's now take a look at the developments from the world of technology. Well, Amazon is planning to offer satellite broadband service in the UK in the next 2 years. Part of Amazon's satellite division called Project Kuiper. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos revealed the company is planning to begin deploying its satellite constellation in the first quarter of 2025. Bezos added that its network could help close the digital divide suffered by businesses and people in rural areas not served by fast fixed line or a mobile broadband. With Project Kuiper, Bezos aims to compete with Elon Musk's Starlink. Meanwhile, reports suggest that Amazon has been courting British defense officials with the proposal to provide Kuiper satellite network for military operations as well.
A team of US-based researchers have developed an artificial intelligence system that can help doctors identify patients at risk of suicide. Called Vanderbilt Suicide Attempt and Ideation Likelihood Model, or VSAIL. The system analyzes patients' routine data collected from electronic health records and to predict any suicide risk over the next 30 days, tested in 3 neurology clinics. The system processed over 7,000 patient visits and prompted 596 alerts for healthcare providers. The report suggests AI-driven clinical alerts could significantly improve suicide prevention efforts in everyday medical settings.
Meet Aria, a humanoid robot developed by Las Vegas-based Real Robotics. The robot uses AI technology to answer questions. What makes Aria unique is a realistic-looking silicone skin. The company behind Aria says it used ChatGPT-4 and other open-source large language models to create the humanoid robot. The company believes humanoid robots such as Aria will help combat loneliness in the future.
All right, shifting our focus now, over 160 British parliamentarians have written a letter to the England and Wales Cricket Board urging them to boycott next month's Champions Trophy match against Afghanistan. This is in response to Taliban regime's assault on women's rights.
The England men's ODI side are scheduled to face Afghanistan in Lahore, Pakistan on 26th of February. There have been calls to refuse the fixture and take a stand, but this is the most dramatic escalation yet. Figures from all sides of the political spectrum, from Nigel Farage to Jeremy Corbyn, have added to the pressure for a boycott. The letter addressed to the ECB chief executive Richard states, and I quote, "We strongly urge the England men's team players and officials to speak out against the horrific treatment of women and girls in Afghanistan under the Taliban. We must stand against sex discrimination, and we implore the ECB to deliver a firm message of support and hope to Afghan women and girls that their suffering has not been overlooked."
Women's participation in sport in Afghanistan has effectively been outlawed since the Taliban's